Us black people were the first people here. Cause I'm Indian. I'm Indian. I'm Indian.
If you watched my film Finding Florence, you might have wondered, why would his people, knowing they're Indians, go by black? And even if it's true, it must be rare.
The Indians who remained hid, or they lied about their race, if they could pass for Caucasian or if they could pass for black. They took on another ethnic identity. But when they did that, they lost their culture. They had to hide and pretend. So now, today, people get really upset and say, well, you're not really Indian. Well, yes, they are. They had to lie about who they were. They lost, for lack of a better word, their public identity.
No, it is not rare, and actually quite common. If the words of an executive of an Indian Affairs Commission isn't enough, let's hear from some black American Indians who actually lived through that shift.
By then, there were people who knew the game, had long since become familiar with the game that was being played. The Narragansett families who wished to remain traditionally as their ancestors had been, made sure there was the teaching. Go out there and learn all that you can from these people. But never forget who you are. Never forget you have your own language, your own religion, and your own way of acceptance.
In Rhode Island, some citizens who did not own property had to wait until 1928 before they were granted voting rights. But 3 groups were still officially barred by state law from casting a ballot: paupers, the mentally incompetent, and Indians. The only way the Narragansetts could participate in elections was by identifying themselves as African Americans. Charles Ernest Hazard confronted officials who enforced this practice. His brother, Joseph, one of the oldest members of the Narragansett Nation, recalls the moment.
Indians couldn't vote, so he went up to the State House and he says, it's on the charter that the Indians can't vote. And he says, you're voting, ain't you? And he says, no. He says, I consider myself a Narragansett Indian. If I vote, I'm voting under Negroes could vote, but not an Indian. And he said, I consider myself a Narragansett, not a black, so I'd like to have that changed. So they did.
What did these elders just say? Did they say they got brought on a boat from Africa? No. Did they say they got chained up and beaten to being Negroes? No. They said that they had come to understand the game that was being played, and that the only way they would survive is to go out and participate in the society that had come to dominate these lands. And the only way to do that is to denounce their Indian heritage and become a Negro, a black. And if you didn't know that until the 1980s, it was actually common knowledge that even in slavery, American Negroes and African Negroes were not the same peoples, watch this.
Now here is a perfect example of Cachexia africana, or dirt eating.
What do they do, bite?
Oh, no. This is not a muzzle. No. It's simply to keep them from devouring every sort of refuse, including their own excrement and dirt.
What are they doing here? They're Indians.
This is one of my many unsuccessful experiments. You see, with Indians, there's absolutely nothing to be done. There's the same difference between a Negro and an Indian as there is between a dog and a coyote. You can put a dog on a leash, beat him, and he'll always be there to lick your feet. Take away a coyote's liberty and you've cut off his air. An Indian will never be a slave. No one has ever been able to make them reproduce in captivity. They do not eat, they do not talk, they do not sleep, they do not make love.
That's from a 1971 European film reenacting American slavery. Nearly 2 decades before Jesse Jackson and Enrolled Cherokee was paid to push yet another reclassification, African American, melding 2 entirely different groups into one, further hiding the injustice done to peoples indigenous to the Americas. Now, if hearing it from an Indian Affairs exec and from the mouths of elders who lived through it, and seeing it portrayed in an old foreign film about America isn't enough, please tell me, what is it that Muhammad Ali, formerly known as Cassius Clay, is talking about here? Mind you, it's been highly publicized how he threw his gold medal into the river, but never exactly why.
One day I saw 2 Africans go in with their robes and their turbans. They couldn't speak English. I heard the man say, "Let him in, they're not Negroes." I said, something's wrong. I can't say it's because I'm black, because they're so black and they're blue, but they went in. So I said, well, I get my Olympic gold medal, then I'll go in. I went and got my gold medal, went back in, ordered 2 cheeseburgers, and they said, sorry, we don't serve Negroes. I said, I don't eat them either, just give me 2 cheeseburgers. And she said, you're getting smart. She called the manager and he said something about, I don't care who he is. She said, Cassius Clay, I don't care who he is. Anyway, the motorcycle gang came in and we had this fight, you read, but I couldn't, the idea was I couldn't either, so I got so angry.
So they publicized that he threw his gold medal away because of racism. But they leave out that it wasn't him being black that made the restaurant not serve him. It was him being American, in America. Out of his own mouth, he said they served the black African, but wouldn't serve a black American, even with an Olympic gold medal around his neck. The issue isn't color, it's lineage. And they know who you are. And their problem is, if you know who you are, you might do something about it. But so long as we are dazed and confused and disconnected from our lineages and our lands, their game can continue. A game rigged against us.
They know.
What's your name?
Why don't you?
Willa and Ellen. Now, tell me what you know about people my color, brown-skinned, who were
indigenous people.
To where? To what land?
To America.
All right now. And you know that as a little girls, right?
Yes.
All right. I just want to thank you both. Where did you say the Indians were from? Where you
are?
We
have Abenaki up in Vermont.
Okay, and
we have Penobscot in Maine and Massachusetts.
Yeah, okay. All right, ladies. Well, I want to thank you for that. It's just good to know. Because I was born in the 60s. Yeah, they know. Yeah, we were taught that. You said everyone should know?
Yes.
All right, let's get this. And then you said you're a veteran?
Yes.
And what have you learned about the indigenous Indians of this land that's my color, copper color?
It's world history and U.S. history.
Uh-huh.
So, and then the people of color were from the northeast part of the world here in New England area, in Buffalo area. So
awesome.
And that's pretty much.
Yeah, my family's Cherokee, and we did. Some of us went on the Trail of Tears when they came in, and the war was over.
Yeah.
Some of us went to Oklahoma. Yeah. Some of us went to Oklahoma, and the rest of us that didn't want to go remained because we all fought in the war together.
Right.
With the British. Do you remember that?
Yes.
When did you learn that in school as a little boy?
Yeah, young man from high school.
Wow, amazing. Well, thank you for serving our country, sir. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Remember that big Indian dude in that movie? Mm-hmm. He was cool. And then he couldn't talk unless he was talking about gum?
Yeah. I think you're not supposed to say Indian either.
No way, really?
Yeah. I think you're supposed to call them African Americans.